Welcome to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, where we believe that great brands are built on passionate leadership, smart operations, and of course, powerful marketing. I am your host, Josh Coffey, and I couldn't be more grateful that you're listening or you're watching this right now. Now, today we are going to be talking about the third and the final pillar of the marketing operating system. One that if you can harness this, if you can master this, it will allow you to unlock predictable revenue in your business. And that one thing is paid traffic. Let's do this. Before we begin, if you have not yet watched or listened to episode 1, I highly recommend that you do, because in that episode is where I talk about the foundation of something that we call the marketing operating system. And in that, there are 3 different levels. The first level is and I'm just going to recap this really briefly. The first level is your website. And this is where purchases and transactions in business happens. If you don't have a website, everything else that you do is not going to perform very well. So the first level, or the first pillar, is your website. Now, that second pillar up is your funnels and your communication. These are funnels. These are products and things that are the core driver that you funnel traffic to in order to grow both your database of email subscribers and customers. And then you communicate with them through forms of email marketing, SMS, and any other thing that might be relevant to your business. And then you have the third and final level of the marketing operating system. And that level is traffic. And so today, that's what I'm going to be talking about, traffic. And I'm going to start this by going through, first of all, the 3 types of traffic. Now, if you're in business, there are 3 types of traffic that you must have in order to grow. And I'm going to start with the most impactful one and the least controllable one as well. And that is word of mouth. So word of mouth is the first type of traffic. And this is what people are saying about you. And this is the strongest form of traffic because it's what people are saying about you, not what you are saying about you. Because typically in advertising and other paid forms of traffic, you're talking about you. But when you look at word of mouth, this is other people talking about you. And so the reason this is so powerful is because when other people are talking about you, it's proof. And when you're talking about yourself, it's bragging. And I actually stole it. That's a quote from a previous mentor of mine, Jeffrey Gitomer. And he always said that. He said, Josh, if you're talking about you, it's bragging. If someone else is talking about you, it's proof. And that's why this is the most powerful form of traffic, because you have to think about it. How many times have you purchased or used products because a friend, a family, a spouse, or someone that you know recommended that product? I'll give you a really good example. So I am really big into tracking my food, tracking my macros, and I'm really big into CrossFit. If you know me, I don't want to talk about CrossFit because it's super cliche, but at CrossFit, I have a lot of friends that also do the same thing. And probably 6 months ago, they introduced me to this amazing brand and product called Kodiak Cakes. If you've never tried Kodiak Cakes, you have to try them. They're amazing. They're like protein. It's protein mix for pancakes. It's kind of like pancakes, waffles. They have oatmeal. They have things like that. And I'll tell you what, they are incredible. And since they first introduced me, every single week for the last 6 months, that has been on our grocery buy list. I mean, I've probably purchased $800 in Kodiak Cake Mix in the last 6 months, simply because I had multiple people in the morning at one of my classes tell me you have to have Kodiak Cakes if you're tracking your macros. It's a great source of definitely carbs, but then also protein as well, not to mention they are incredibly delicious. And so that's why word of mouth is the first type of traffic. It's the strongest, but the downside of it is it's the least predictable because you can't control it. You can only influence word of mouth. You can influence how much people talk about you, maybe try to nudge people to talk about you. Maybe you're sending an email and saying, hey, why don't you refer us to your friends? But you can't control it. It's not very controllable, but it's influenceable, if that's an actual word. But there's something that you do need to consider when it comes to this. And this is why this is the first type of traffic to talk about, because in order for this to even work, you have to have good products. Meaning if your product sucks, you're going to really struggle with generating word of mouth, because marketing can't fix bad products. It can't fix poor packaging. It can't fix terrible customer experience. You can do that. So you can influence that. And so the reason I want to talk about this first is because this is really, really baseline. make sure your products are good. Make sure your packaging is good. Make sure that your communication on shipping and the different key points throughout the experience with your customers is good. And if you could do that, you're going to start harnessing the power of word of mouth. So that's the first type of traffic. The second type of traffic is organic. And I consider organic anything like social media, SEO, podcasts or videos like you might be watching or listening right now, email marketing, etc. These are things that you can also influence. You can't control, but you can influence decisions. You can influence that traffic by posting more and by taking actions on those networks. But it's not very predictable. So, for example, you could post 10 times per day on Instagram, but if you only have 100 followers, your results are going to be massively diminished. And I'll give you an example. So we get 10 to 15,000, or at this point in time, we get like 10 to 15,000 organic website visitors to our website just through our blog. We create a lot of blog content and content on our website, so the SEO kicks in, and we get 10 to 15,000 visitors per month. But we can't control how many people search for a specific topic or a specific keyword that our blogs that we've created are going to draw in. We can influence it by creating more content, but we can't necessarily control it. Like I can't look at a set of 5 blogs and say, ooh, this blog is doing really, really well based on this topic, the keywords, and whatever the SEO things that our team did to it. So why don't we go ahead and 10x this blog? You can't do it. You can influence and create more blogs similar to that, but you can't control search volume. You can't control traffic from search engines because it's organic. And so organic is similar to word of mouth. It can't be controlled, but it can be influenced. But the good thing about organic, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. The good thing about organic is that it's kind of like digging a well. It takes a lot of work, like a good deal of work. You got to dig and dig and dig and dig, and maybe you dig and you didn't strike water. And then you go to another spot and you dig and dig and dig and dig, and it's a lot of work. But eventually, when you strike water, you will create a consistent flow of traffic. And so that's kind of how I think of organic and word of mouth, kind of like digging a well. It's a lot more work. The resource lever, like if I'm pulling 2 levers and you have impact and you have resource, you're going to pull a lot of resource in order to start to get that impact. But over time, that impact will just get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's the second type of traffic. And the third type of traffic is paid traffic. And to be honest, this is my favorite type of traffic because it is the most predictable. And when I think of business, I want predictable. I want to know what my revenue forecast will look like for next week, next month, next quarter, next year. I want to predictably know, hey, if we do X, it will produce Y. And paid traffic comes in a lot of different forms. It could be Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Google, programmatic ads, Pinterest ads. But what it is simply spending dollars to get your advertisements in front of a specific audience. That's what paid traffic is. The one thing I've learned with paid traffic, and there's a lot of hesitancy. Most people get through the first type because they're like, hey, my products are good. I believe in this. I'm getting reviews and I put my heart and soul into this. And so word of mouth, that's the traffic that I start to get because I care so much. I'm so hands-on. Organic is the second one that most people go to. They start getting all these social media networks. They start investing all this time into these organic strategies, but they stop at paid traffic. Because why would I pay for traffic when I can get it for free on Instagram or for free on whatever that organic platform is? Well, I don't know too many businesses that are doing at least 2 million or more per year that don't run paid ads. I'm sure they exist, but that is the minority, especially because the barrier to running paid ads and doing so profitably is not very high. And later in this episode, I'm going to talk through what that looks like and how you can make ads work for you and the types of campaigns you need. But the reality is, if you invest some time, you can harness the power of paid advertising. You just have to overcome that fear. And even in highly restricted fields like CBD or firearms, there are forms of paid advertising that work. Too many people throw up their hands and say, hey, paid traffic doesn't work for me, or paid advertising, I'm not going to spend money to acquire customers, and so it's not for me, I'm going to do organic. And those are the companies that remain small. They only grow so big or at so much of a pace, and they can only grow so predictably because they aren't leveraging that. But again, even companies in the CBD, the firearms, more restricted fields can run forms of paid advertising like programmatic ads. And because those forms do exist, you may need to focus on list building so that way you can nurture and educate your audience via email and not have to worry about all kinds of ad rejections and ad approvals and going through regulation with Facebook and Google who really don't like firearms. You might have to focus more on a lead gen strategy, but the fact remains you can leverage paid ads in order to grow your email list so that you can then generate more sales on the back end. So one thing with ads is that if you're going to run ads, it's not a matter of if it will work. It's a matter of what that looks like for your business and when it's going to happen. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of what, because every business is different. Every industry is different. They have different audience, different buying cycles. And it's not a matter of if it's going to work, because it will. The question is, what will that look like for you? And when will that actually happen? And there are different variables in that, like how much you're spending is going to impact how quickly you figure it out, and how much time you invest in your paid ad traffic efforts is going to determine how quickly you figure that out. But it's really a matter of what it looks like and when that actually happens. Because once you've established baseline numbers, you're going to have a good idea of what it's going to take to acquire your revenue goals. That's the beauty of paid advertising. That once you understand your baseline numbers, once you get your feet wet, and once you really get into it, you start to realize, oh my goodness, the power of this is really, really good. And you'll notice when I run ads, I generate more revenue, even if 100% of it can't be tracked or attributed. And I talk about attribution and a ton of other things, so I'm not going to dive into that right here and now. But even when you can't track 100%, you will notice when you spend money on ads, you will make more money because of that. And the good thing about ads is you can acquire new customers very predictably. But on top of new customers, what we often see is we see a massive overlap from paid to organic. And that's another great thing. So when someone, for example, if somebody clicks on one of your ads and then they follow you on social media or they subscribe to your email list, you can nurture them. You start to get in front of them through your organic efforts. And then what happens is they start to buy down the line, which can't be attributed back to ads, but the ads created this trickle-long effect. And I see this happen all the time. So while I view organic traffic like a well that you have to put a lot more time and effort into in order to strike water, I view paid traffic like a faucet. It's either on or it's off, because as soon as you stop paying Facebook or Mother Google or whatever that platform is, your traffic stops flowing. All right, my fellow marketers, if you're running Facebook ads, then you know how important it is to identify good audiences that convert. But what you might not realize is that Facebook buries thousands of audiences and interests that you won't be able to easily find within your Facebook Ads Manager in order to target. Because it buries these relevant interests, what that means for you is there's opportunity. It means that there's less competition for these particular interests. So if you can find them, if you can pinpoint them, whereas your competitors can't, it will lower your ad costs and allow you to produce greater results from your ads. That's why I recommend a tool. It's called Interest Explorer. Our team has been using this for years to help find highly profitable, very relevant audiences in the form of interest that we were never able to find inside Facebook's ad manager. And on top of that, it allows you to save audiences into categories and folders and then easily copy and paste them into your ads manager. I couldn't recommend it enough. I believe it's a one-time cost, or it's really, really cheap, worth every single penny. It's called Interest Explorer. Go to alleypodcast.com/IE in order to get a trial. Again, that's alleypodcast.com/IE. If you're not currently investing in paid advertising for your business, then you're missing out on what I believe is the largest opportunity of the 21st century for businesses. And that is digital advertising. And so I want to talk really briefly about some economics when it comes to advertising, because I think that there's so much emotional wrap up in advertising because we're actually spending dollars that is important to understand. Because the problem is most entrepreneurs, they think of advertising in the form of cost and risk, and they don't view advertising from an investment standpoint. And there's a great marketer I heard once say that risk comes from lack of knowledge. I don't think that that could be more true. And for me, I'm a business owner. And so I always think in terms of assets. And my wife and I have determined that there are three primary assets we invest our income in our army of dollar bills into. And the first type are stocks, which is our financial portfolio, because that's very steady, very historical. The second type is real estate. And the third type is our businesses. And advertising is a form of investing in your business. And so to give an example of this and just talk through like how lack of knowledge is how we think that things are risky, I want to give you an example. So my wife and I own several vacation properties down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, as of filming of this video right now. And I hear people say this all the time. I hear people say, hey, isn't that risky? You don't live nearby. What if there's a recession? What if there's a pandemic, which literally happened to us, and for 6 weeks we couldn't rent anything. We had 0% occupancy. Or what happens if something breaks? Or handling cleaners sounds like so much work. And they're completely right. It sounds risky because they don't know what we know. They don't have the knowledge that we have. And they don't know the vacation rentals cash flow net 8 to 10 times more than a single family long-term residential unit. And then it only takes about an hour to an hour and a half per week to manage an individual vacation property. So you're talking 2 properties are going to do 8 to 10 times more than 2 single family homes for only 2 combined hours or less of work per week. Well, you'd probably take, I don't know, I'm not a betting man, but I would take that bet if I was betting that's worth doing versus another investment strategy. It doesn't mean that other investment strategies are bad. It just means that that's what we've learned works for us because we have the knowledge. And so where there is lack of knowledge, though, there lies opportunity for those that are willing to learn. And that's why I think the digital advertising is the greatest opportunity for ROI in a business in the 21st century. It doesn't discount organic. It doesn't discount word of mouth, and that we should be investing in those. But because advertising is so predictable, you have to look at it from the form of viewing it as something that is building an asset, which is your business, that's building your database of customers and email subscribers, because those, in my opinion, are assets within your business. It's something that you invest dollars in that will produce dividends over time. And so to give you a good representation of the impact of advertising, I want to walk through very briefly the 3 types of assets that I invest in, just because this is really, really tangible for me and I could give you real life examples here. And so if I'm looking at stocks, real estate, and advertising, I want to show you the trajectory that advertising really has to really show you and try to help you understand mentally how impactful this can be on your business and your entire financial future. So if you look at the stock market has averaged 11% return on investment since about the dawn of time, or that's the number that my financial advisor and a lot of other people have told me. And I've honestly seen it. I think in the last year we did 14.5% on my portfolio particularly, but other years have been down, and it just averages to 11% per year. So if you were to take $40,000 and you invested it into, and you were to invest it in the stock market, in a year, it would have grown 11%, which is $4,400, and it would be worth $44,400 in 1 year. And if that happened for 4 years, let's just use 4 years here, that $40,000 would grow to $58,564. Or what I would look at, I like to think in terms of ROAS, or return on ad spend, because we're talking advertising. So we'll call this a cash multiplier, and that would be a cash multiplier of 1.46. 40,000 in, $58,564 total at the end of 4 years. So that's almost $19,000 out. And you'd be looking at a 1.46 multiplier on your cash, which is pretty amazing for doing nothing. I mean, that would beat your interest rate at any bank any day. And that's pretty good. But let's kind of shift to the next level up, which I consider real estate. And real estate is great because you have something called OPM, which stands for other people's money. And this creates leverage. So whereas stocks, you take $40,000 and you put in and it would grow on that $40,000, I could take $40,000 and invest it in a property as a down payment. And the reason I'm using $40,000, by the way, is I'm going to give you a really tangible example, and I wanted to use this across the board. So we bought a property for $240,000, a vacation property for $240,000 like 5 years ago. And we put $40,000 down on the property, and we borrowed $200,000. This was our leverage. And 4 years later, that cabin was worth $485,000, and it was cash flowing net. This is after mortgage and all that good stuff. It was cash flowing net $25,000 per year in actual take-home income after internet, mortgage, utilities, all of those fixes, all of those things. So 4 years later, that $40,000 investment invested in real estate produced $100,000 in cash flow, $25,000 net per year, plus an additional $245,000 in growth and appreciation, which brings the grand total from $240 all the way up to $345. If I was to actually factor in the $245,000 in equity growth and the $100,000, that's $345,000 in net worth growth. Stick with me here. Even if you're not in real estate, I think it's important to understand these numbers, which that's really, really powerful. To take $40,000 and then all of a sudden it became worth $345,000 in net growth after the mortgage is really, really powerful. And if you were to look at that from a cash multiplier standpoint, that same $40,000 invested over those 4 years became an 8.625x. So 8.625 times the amount that we put in. So that $40,000 became worth $345,000. Now, yes, if you're a super nerd like me, you're like, hey, that's not all realized cash, or that's not because we didn't realize all 345. 245 of that was unrealized gain in the form of equity in the property. But I'm trying to make a point here that investing is a very crucial part to experiencing growth. So we have stocks, 11%, and then you look at or 1.46 multiplier, or I'm doing this from the sake of like return on ad spend, and then you have real estate, had that particular deal had an 8.625, and now the question is, well, let's look at advertising. And advertising is a little bit different because advertising doesn't just have a standard growth trajectory. It has a hockey stick growth. This is where we're going to see massive, massive momentum once you really dial it in. And so advertising will create momentum unlike anything I have personally ever seen. And I invest in both of those other vehicles, our Roth IRAs, our stock portfolio, and then also our real estate portfolio. And I invest in those. But let's say you spend $40,000 on Facebook ads over the span of 30 days, and you achieve a 3x return on ad spend. Well, that $40,000 will become $120,000. But you still have cost of goods sold, right? You still have costs. And to make it really easy, let's pretend your your COGS are 50%. So that means you would have turned that $40,000, put $40,000 in, made $120,000 out, but by time you reduce the 50% in cost of goods sold, you would actually be at $60,000. So in reality, that $40,000 became $60,000. And if you were to take, and that's in 1 month. So if you took 40,000 to 60, that is a 50% increase from 40. If you had 20, that's 50% of 40 to $60,000. So that is a 50% increase or 50% ROI in 30 days. And here's the kicker. This is the powerful thing. That's if everything remained the same, and that's assuming that you never invested more than $40,000. So if you invested $40,000, you had a 3x return on ad spend, after all your COGS, you're sitting at a 50% gain. That doesn't assume any lifetime value. That doesn't assume any long-term compound effects. So if everything remained the same and you never invested more than $40,000 per month, and you use those base numbers that I just mentioned over 4 years, that 40,000 put in, take it out, and if you just did 40,000 every month for 4 years, that would have converted into $5.76 million in sales, which half of that would have put us back to $2.88 million in profit. So if you took that 40,000 of an initial investment that you'd pull back out every single month and you multiply that out, that would become a 72x cash multiplier over a 4-year span. Now, I know those of you that are like, Josh, scaling and growth is never linear. Some months might be 40, but then we're going to have slow season, and sometimes we're going to get a 3x ROAS, sometimes we're going to get a 2x, sometimes it's going to be a 5x, and it's not predictable. I totally get it. I'm trying to break down advertising economics here and how powerful this can really, really be. And here's the thing, like, that's only if you calculated front-end revenue produced from a sale or produced from your ads that nobody ever purchased beyond that. But when you start to add in repeat purchases, you start to add in back-end sales from your email, your SMS. Maybe they started to follow you on social media because they loved your brand. It doesn't factor in the organic or the word of mouth aspect of it. But if you factored those in, which are very hard to track and factor in, that number, that 72x multiplier becomes exponentially higher. So the reason I talk about this is because understanding advertising economics and honing in on your skill set can completely change your business, and it will change your life, and it will change your family tree because of that. But here's the thing, you must overcome that fear. You must overcome that idea that instead of saying I'm spending, say I'm investing. You need to change your language, because if you spent $1 and you made $3 or $4 out every time, I bet your business would grow predictably and steadily. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. But if you're digging this content right now, here's what I want to do. I want to invite you, before we continue into the next piece here, I want to invite you, if you're digging this content, you're like, hey, I would love to learn more about paid traffic. I'd love to learn more about marketing and the marketing operating system. And I'd like to get access to additional content and templates and resources to grow my e-commerce business and become a greater leader. Then I would invite you to join our email list by going to alleypodcast.com/subscribe. And so once you join, what's going to happen is you are going to get a little welcome email from me, and you're also going to get access to a few surprise gifts that are going to help you improve your marketing. They're going to help you improve your business. And so if you want to get access to that, go ahead and join our email list. Go to alleypodcast.com/subscribe, and you're going to get some cool things delivered to you right away. So to wrap up this session, what I want to do is I want to get into some more tangible things, because I've been focused more on the high level, the understanding of paid advertising, the economics of it, because I think that everything begins in our mind. And if we can comprehend that in our mind, if we can rationalize that and start to really grasp it and understand it, it's going to make the tactics and the actual strategy a lot better, because we will be able to understand what the long vision is and what the long play is going to be. So if you operate an e-commerce business, I want to give you 3 campaigns that you need to be running at all times. And I'm going to say kind of high level, but I want to break down 3 different campaigns that will change your e-commerce business if you steadily and consistently run these campaigns. And it may look a little bit different based on the platform. It might look a little bit different based on what type of business that you have, because maybe if you're in a more restrictive business, like I've talked about before, you're probably going to be running more programmatic ads, and you're going to be running less Facebook ads because they're going to restrict certain things. So it's going to look a little bit different. But there are 3 types of campaigns that your e-commerce business should be running at all times. The first one is a dynamic retargeting campaign. Facebook calls these DPAs, or dynamic product ads. And this is usually connected from your Shopify or your WooCommerce or your e-commerce store. It's going to be connected to the ad platform, and it's going to connect usually your catalog of products. And so what's going to happen is, this is really, the reason this is first is because it's the easiest and it's the lowest hanging fruit. What's going to happen is, as people go and visit your website and they look at particular products, it's going to then start showing those products to them on whatever ad platform that you're running. And so the reason this is the lowest hanging fruit is because people have literally looked at those ads. So this is the easiest thing to get up and going. You don't have to even design ad creatives, because Facebook or whatever the advertising tool is will pull in the creatives of the product from the product page. So if I went and looked at a pair of Nike shoes or Metcon or Nike Metcons for CrossFit, I will start seeing that exact pair of shoes. So you don't have to do any creative work. It'll pull the title, the headline, so you don't even have to do the headline. You'll just need to write a tiny piece of body copy. And so that's why it's the first campaign you should be running. I don't care if you're running $5 a day or $20 a day. It doesn't matter. You just have to run something because it's the lowest hanging fruit. And if you have low traffic, which I consider less than 10,000 visitors to your website per month, you could be running $10 a month or $10 a day to this type of campaign. Really, really easy. Allow your budget to run. But what we recommend is that you don't allow your ad frequency to exceed 5 in a 30-day span. Meaning, if you get 200 visitors per month to your website and you're running $100 a day to a dynamic retargeting campaign, what's going to happen is those 200 people, because your budget is 100, those 200 people are going to see that ad many, many, many times. And so the ad frequency is going to ramp up, and they might see it 15 or 20 times in a 7-day span. That's too much. You're going to saturate people. They're going to get annoyed. And actually your cost per acquisition is going to go down very, very dramatically. So we recommend when you set a budget not to let it run above a frequency of 5 times in a 30-day span, meaning you want your audience to see it up to 5 times in 30 days. That's number one campaign. Now, number 2, we're going to run a campaign for direct purchases. And this should be a majority of your ad spend budget. This should be 70 to 80% typically of your ad spend. And there are different tactics within this, which I'm not going to dive into, but you need to be driving for direct purchases. You'll have cold traffic campaigns, you might have warm traffic or hot traffic campaigns, but you want to drive for direct purchases. We don't mess around with traffic or engagement or add to cart or view content. And I'm listing a lot of Facebook objectives here, but we don't mess around with any of that stuff. Too many people are like, hey, I need to get 50 conversions in a 7-day window of add to carts before I run for purchases. You need a campaign that is driving people straight for the key objective that you have, and that is to make sales. You want your ads to optimize for people that are going to buy from you, not just add something to their cart or visit your website. And so the second campaign you have to be running is for direct purchases as the objective. And this should be a majority of your budget. Now, the third one is the one that I see most people forget about. And this is for leads. This is for growing your email list. And we recommend 10 to 20% of your budget going directly for the goal of growing your email lists. And yes, even e-commerce businesses should be growing their email lists through the form of lead generation. In fact, your email should represent 30 to 50% of your overall store revenue if you're really doing it right. If your automations are in place and you are communicating at least on a weekly basis with weekly campaigns to your email list, your email should account for 30 to 50% of your revenue. We've seen slightly lower, but the largest, highest performing stores that we have worked with and that we have seen are generating between somewhere in the 30 to 50% of the overall store revenue range. And the fun thing about email marketing is it is the highest form, since I've been a marketer for 10 years plus, it has been the highest form of return on investment in the marketing world. In fact, the latest benchmark that we have is for every dollar you invest in email marketing, on average, you will produce $45 in sales from that $1 invested as a 45 to 1 ROI. And that's according to the latest benchmarks that I have recorded since we're recording this episode right now. Now, how you grow your email list might look a little bit different, but you can grow it in the form of giveaways, ebooks, discounts, pre-sale wait lists. During Black Friday, we do a lot of those. So we're like building pre-sale wait lists for people to get on the list because they're excited about Black Friday and they want to get early bird access. And so we highly recommend 10 to 20% of your budget be going for leads because we're driving for purchases, right? We're targeting our lowest hanging fruit, people that view specific products. And then we're also growing our email list that's going to generate plenty of revenue and sales on the back end and over time because email marketing is the largest or the most impactful form of marketing that we have ever seen and that all the benchmarks in reality are telling us. So if you want to learn about giveaways and you haven't yet gone through our giveaway bootcamp or checked out any of our content on giveaways, just go to alleypodcast.com/giveaway. Just to see how we run giveaways. We'll run a lot of giveaways and generate 300 plus email subscribers a day on giveaways because they have this viral component and a lot of other things. So if you're interested in learning how giveaways work, definitely go check that out, alleypodcast.com/giveaway. So these are the 3 types. If you run these 3 types of campaigns, you'll start experiencing predictable growth within your business. And even if you're new to the paid advertising world, I want to prepare you for something. Be prepared to take punches to the face, to take a beating, and to be okay with it. Because the first, it's truly the worst. You think about it, when you learned how to ride a bike, or you started that process of learning how to ride a bike, you didn't just start on 2 wheels. You had your training wheels. And then after you started to get comfortable, you started to figure it out. And then you were able to remove those training wheels because you really understood it. And you could ride without just falling over and crashing all the time. It's part of the process. I do a lot of CrossFit, and you don't just go into CrossFit, jump up on a bar and do a muscle up, or pick up a jump rope and do a double under. There's a process. There's a learning process, because the first rep you do is not going to look like the 1,000th rep you do, because you're going to get better as you go. And that is part of the growth journey. You need to test, you need to learn, you need to optimize, and you need to repeat. You have to think like a scientist. And if you can do that, if you can be okay with that, if you can comprehend and be okay with that mentally, you will win in the long run. So in closing here, we've talked about 3 types of traffic: word of mouth, organic, and paid. Word of mouth and organic can be influenced, but not necessarily controlled. And paid can be more controlled, and obviously it can be influenced. We've also talked about advertising economics and how it'll change your business's financial trajectory if you can harness its power as well. And then we ended with the 3 types of campaigns you should be running. One for dynamic retargeting, another one for purchases, and another one for growing your email list. You have been listening, my friends, to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, produced by the extraordinary behind the scenes, or behind your ears, Dylan Counts, who's incredible. And you can see the show notes for this episode by going to alleypodcast.com and get plenty of additional resources on paid traffic as well while you are there. And please drop us a review on iTunes. Let's connect on social media at Josh Coffee. On behalf of the entire team, we want to say thank you for being our listener, for making the world a better place with your products, and for continuing to press forward even in the difficult moments. We'll see you soon.